That's how I'm living on the edge today, by the way. My knee is it's like kind of up. It's not. Here we go. Moving the knee. There it is. There it's. See, my knee was like in a different, it was in a different place. And I was just seeing, all right, I haven't seen it yet. So it might not. There it is. There. Yeah, it's happened. It's happened. I have seen it. It is good. That's how we're doing this. That is how we're doing this. I'm moving my knee in a different way. Huh? That's how I'm going about it. Right? How crazy is that? Guys, my hair is what would have happened had I never left graduate school. This is what I would look like right now. And if you're listening to this podcast later in the audio version, you can't really see me, obviously, but my hair is all over the place, sort of. And this is what I would look like if I kept going to school. If I was, which I guess if I kept going, I would have been, I probably would have finished by now. So this is what a Professor Ron would look like. But welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. We got a lot to talk about. First of all, quick shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. Our friends over at ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules, and you can get their tea wholesale now because of the pandemic. I like the raspberry pecan, the Monk's Blend. Makes an amazing holiday gift. Run by a friend of the show and Big Lefty Jeffrey. They supply the tea to this show, ZT.com. Also, TreeOfJoy.com. Trendy Nay educates the public on cannabis issues, and he has an amazing topical pain oil that I use regularly, and it has done wonders for my neck. So check that out over at TreeOfJoy.com, TRIAGE oil.com. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. There's a stimulus update, and I feel like this is a continuation of the saga that we started yesterday on my guest's show. On Graham Elwood's show yesterday, Graham and I talked about what was going on with the stimulus. Well, there's an update now. So we are going to continue that saga. So joining me today, you know him, you already know him, the political vigilante himself, Mr. Graham Elwood. Graham, are you there? What's up, buddy?
Yes, Ron Placone. How are you, dude?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to make sure I forgot to do this. I want to make sure I got my yeah, buddy. I just want to make sure, it's all about branding, Ron. So I want to there we go. Get my logo up there. Boom. There it is. There we go.
Now you're cooking with gas. We got it. Now we're or with electricity, rather. Now you're charging that electric car.
Now I've got my solar powered logo behind me.
Man, so my wife has an electric car. We have an electric car in our household now, and there's a charger right outside of our apartment, and it's pretty in demand because it's like the only charger in the area. So yesterday I noticed when she was on her way home that it was open. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna kind of hold it, although I can't hold it. If someone really needs it, whatever, but I'll try to hold it. So I just started doing jumping jacks, where the spot is, where the charging spot is. I started doing all these jumping jacks, and I was running in place and doing push-ups and stuff. And this car shows up, and they show up, and they're kind of right in front of me and in front of the apartment complex with their four-ways on. So I'm thinking do they want this spot? But I wasn't sure. So I'm okay, if they want this spot, they have to tell me. And if they say something, I'll be oh yeah, I didn't realize, and I'll move. But otherwise, if they're just going to put their four-ways on and be passive aggressive about it, well, I'm going to keep doing my thing. So I kept doing jumping jacks and push-ups and wondering what their deal is. And enough time passed that it got a little uncomfortable. So I moved on to the grass, and I was okay, if they want this spot, whatever, I can't keep. Turns out they didn't want the spot. They were just dropping off either Uber Eats or whatever it was, and the person who they were dropping it off to never bothered coming out to get it, because eventually what they did was they just took the food and left it in front of the apartment with the note who it was for. So that's what was going on. But I was curious. I was do they want this spot, and why won't they? I'm making up a story for these people in my head. I was these are the most passive aggressive electric car users in the history of ever. Why can't they just say to me, sir, I would like this spot, in which case I'll move. I can't just hold it indefinitely. But it turns out that wasn't even what they were looking for. And instead they were just like, well, this is a weird place for this guy to do his exercises.
Currently right now, Ron, there's an Uber Eats driver going, yeah, I just went to drop this stuff off. I was waiting for the person to come out and get it. And there's this wingnut doing old school exercises like some gym teacher from the 70s in a parking space. I don't know what the fuck. So I put my high beams on him. Maybe he needed the light to help his workout.
You also you really nailed my look too. That's exactly how I was dressed, gym teacher from the 70s. So it was like, I feel like it ended up being we made each other's day a little bit better, because I was kind of wondering like, what's their deal? And they were probably wondering like, what's his deal? Is he the guy? Is he the guy who, why would someone order McDonald's while they're exercising? But this seems like a little, maybe he's the guy we're waiting for. And I'm like, are they waiting on me? Like maybe there was, we should have just become friends, I think. But anyway, that happened.
I got to say, if you're ordering McDonald's through Uber Eats, you're kind of an asshole. Like, come on.
Somebody in my complex did.
Oh, wow. Like, come on. I mean, if you're like, I'm in the high risk group for COVID. Okay. And you're just craving McDonald's. I get it. But if you're just like, don't want to go to a McDonald's drive through, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, that does seem a bit much.
And you know what? Support like a mom and pop restaurant. Like support a Thai restaurant. Don't get fucking McDonald's.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Anyway. I mean, hey, where I live in San Pedro, we got a lot of like really solid local diners that are still doing takeout and stuff. So you can still get a decent burger. So you got options. So let's get into some news, Graham. This is we started talking about this on your show. So to refresh everybody, the new stimulus idea is out there, and oh boy, is it a doozy? Is it a doozy or what? I think at this point, the stimulus after this one will just be, I think they're going to let billionaires have one day to just purge whoever they want. I think that's what's going to be in the next stimulus. That's what's going to be. And if you fight back, you might live, but you'll have to pay a fine. They won't, but you will.
Right. Well, it's a fight back fine, which makes sense because a billionaire shouldn't have to, pay to defend themselves.
Right.
When they should be allowed to just kill you,
Exactly. So it's like, well, you get your life. If you can fight them off until midnight, you get to live. Bad news, that's $500. You can take out a payday loan if you're struggling. And you know what? If you live in Los Angeles, it gets even better because Mayor Garcetti might give you a $20 off coupon. Hey, we encourage people. And if you're in the creative field, you get $40 off. If you drive an electric car, $50 off. Unless you're an asshole who takes up the charging station doing push-ups. That guy, $0 off.
That guy gets nothing. That guy deserves nothing.
But so the bill is ridiculous. I mean, let's talk about some of this stuff to give the summary again. Some of the stuff that actually is in it. A giveaway to corporations where they're not liable for anything, shielding them from any and all liability. They're rolling back labor laws because, if the person handling your groceries is working a 14-hour shift, what's the problem? Who cares? Right. And rolling back parts of the Civil Rights Act.
I just want the Vote Any Blue Will Do resistance crowd to know this is like Pelosi is okay with this.
This is nuts. I mean, and here's the thing, man, getting bigger picture beyond the Blue Any Do crowd, Any Blue Will Do crowd. Like, I think the first thing that needs to happen here is people need to stop putting on the facade that this is anywhere near the realm of acceptable. Mm-hmm. Like it's not even in this, like if we were at a sporting event and acceptable was the entire stadium, this is in the next town over, not even watching it on TV. That's how far from acceptable any of this is. And people need to 900, like, what is it? Like $900 billion or something like that. And they might include, this should be an Onion headline. There's $900 billion in stimulus. You might get a payment. Might. $900 billion. Where's that money going?
Well, it's funny. You make a sports analogy, right? And if a head coach was this bad in like, just let's pick the NFL, he would be fired. He would be fired. Like coaches that have won championships have a couple of losing seasons and they're fired. And yet in this country, we say lesser of two evils and we allow this to happen. And then when people like yourself or myself, you know, we're third party voters, right? You voted third party. I voted third party. The last two presidential elections, I voted third party on a bunch of down ballot races. We're called crazy. And it's like, you wouldn't accept this anywhere else in your life. There's no, I mean, like if again, sports fans would be screaming about their team if they kept doing this. Like, and it's amazing to me, you know, when you and I went, we basically on my show yesterday, we started just breaking down the bill. There's money for defense contractors. Yeah. So we don't get a direct payment. We should be getting $1,200 right now today. Those checks should have been going. Checks should have gone out Monday. Everybody's going to get them before the end of the year because everybody's starving. Christmas, rent's due in 2 weeks. Rent is due in 2 weeks. So everyone would be like, let's get those $1,200 out immediately. And here's a bunch of money in unemployment. And they can't even go back to the $600 unemployment that they put on top of it, which when they did that last summer. We might get a one-time that they're saying 6 or maybe 7. That's what they're dangling. Maybe $700. And they're thinking that there might be some federal unemployment. I mean, here's what it's saying. Like this, and here's the update from last night. This is comically ridiculous. Hill leaders eye new round of stimulus checks as part of $900 billion COVID relief deal. Let's just stop right there. $900 billion in relief, you, the citizen, might get a direct payment. This should be an Onion headline. Yeah. This is absolutely fuck nuts. You might $900 billion. Where is the rest of that? I mean, it should be $900 billion. That's all going to the people, and in the forms of $1,200 checks, in the forms of unemployment and additional unemployment money. Money that, also is going to the states to help them with the unemployment because the unemployment is through the state. It should be like, here's more money for small businesses to keep, especially in all these states now that have had to go back to more severe restrictions and lockdowns. It's like, okay, it's insane that that's not just automatic. We're shutting you down. Here's money to keep your business going. That should just be like the same sentence, but not in this dumb country. It's just like, we're shutting everything down, thoughts and prayers. We might get you some money. And by the way, Congress needs to take another recess. Like, here's an ice cream coupon.
Well, like, look at it this way. And this is proof that, like, your government actively hates you. Like, what if I called you up one day, Graham, and I was like, Graham, dude, you're not going to believe this. I won the lottery. And you're like, no shit, buddy. Like, yeah, Graham, I won the lottery. I'm a millionaire now. I'm a millionaire. I freaking won. I won the lottery. And you know what, Graham? I want to make sure that I take care of all my friends. I want to give all my friends something. So you might get something here. You might get something. I might have $20 for you. Millions of dollars, might have $20 for you. That's what our government is doing right now.
Actually, no, Ron. I will add. Here's an even better analogy. You win the lottery. You win a bunch of money. Like, let's call it, you win $50 million, and let's say it's after you and I have all these road dates that I need to pay my bills. You don't now need the road dates anymore, and you go, Graham. Now that I'm rich, I've canceled all of our road dates, and so I've taken away your ability to make money as a stand-up comic, but don't worry, I might give you $20. That's what they're doing.
Yes.
That's the equivalent of what they're doing.
That is, yeah, totally. And I make sure that every venue we would have played at is closed. I single-handedly close all their venues.
And you like, no, man. So I'm like, well, Ron, I'm just going to go on the road myself. No, That's not safe. So you're going to shut down these venues.
None of the venues are open, Graham, because I couldn't help them either. And sorry, I know they should have been kept afloat, and I have the resources to do it. But man, I don't know.
Sorry, bro.
I mean, the moral of the story, folks, is don't let me win the lottery. I'll turn into a piece of shit.
Ron is a monster. If the lottery winning Ron is a monster. Power
corrupts, man. Power corrupts. So here, look at this. This is so ridiculous. Congressional leaders after $1 billion, blah, 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 blah. So it's $900 billion. That's the price tag. Now here's what they're talking about. We might get, Senate Majority Whip John Thune told reporters that he thinks 600 to 700 is under discussion for stimulus checks and double that for family and kids. Hey, if you got some kids, we'll give you a little more. We got you. Thune, a Republican from South Dakota, it's Republicans giving this news, by the way. That's how ridiculous it's gotten. Republicans are giving this news. He also added that he thinks there will be $300 for unemployment benefits per week. So we're getting half of the stimulus that we got the first time. We're getting half of that fuck you check, which, by the way, I think at this point, it's about $4 a day is what they've given the American people. And by the way, it's not them giving it to us. It's them holding up their end of the bargain. This is what the federal government is for. This is what this is why you're told you pay taxes every year.
We're giving you safe highways. That's like, no, we pay taxes. You make sure that shit runs on time. You make sure you're not giving me a highway. You're not giving me a post office. You're not giving me libraries. You're not giving me parks. I'm paying for it and you're managing it.
Right.
So shut your fucking mouths. Like it's unbelievable. Like, and so let's look at it. Let's go back on the history real quick. So when we got the $1,200 check in the spring, and it took some people months to finally get their unemployment. But once you finally got it, I didn't get mine till June. It was like you got this extra $600 a week. So if you were getting somewhere between $150, $200 a week, let's just call it 200, you were getting on top of that $600. So now you're getting $800 a week. So that's $3,200 a month. Okay. All right. That's, you can, whatever you were making, that's okay. You can get by. That's, all right. Okay. But they take the $600 away in August. Then they give you back $300 for a couple of months. Take that away. Your regular unemployment's about to expire the day after Christmas. And now they might give you $300 again. And it's like that $3,200, I mean, depending on where you lived, I mean, that's California. That was, if I didn't have my YouTube show, I would have been scraping by. I mean, just scraping by. I mean, it would be like, and what it did is I would have been like, and I didn't go out to eat a lot the first couple months because money was tight. I was trying to get my YouTube up, and thankfully I'm doing all right. But like, I kept saying, if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I was just a comic. Like many of our friends, I would be one of these comics who now is on the road. I see them on social media who's like, I'm doing live shows, I'm traveling, I'm flying. It's like
they don't have a choice.
They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. It's like the restaurants that we're telling to shut down that are like, and it's unbelievable. And especially when you talk about all these other countries, these democracies, these industrialized nations, where they gave their employees 80% salary.
Yeah.
Not because, that's what you should have been getting. And if you were unemployed, that you should send in your taxes and they'll give you whatever. Like, but or self-employed. If you're self-employed, whatever, figure that out. But it's like, this country said from day one, you're on your own, man. Good luck. Suck it. Thoughts and prayers.
Which, if they're going to tell us that, then our response should be, then why the fuck do we need you?
Yeah.
Get out of here. Like just get out. We don't need your corporate coup anymore. We never did. Just get out. Get out. It's unreal. And just articles like this are just so freaking insane because it's just like, I mean, listen to this quote. I feel more optimistic that there's been a lot of progress made, he said, adding, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to hit the deadline. Why? Because they want to go home. They want to go home for their winter holidays. So they're like, what is the smallest thing we could get away with? What is the least? Is that your ride, Graham? Do you have to go?
Well, we knew the day was coming, Ron, when they would come snatch me up because they didn't like what I was talking about. So this might be that day. I thought it was going to go live later tonight, but it sounds like 5-0 has other plans. So this might be my deep state sign off.
Well, you know what? We'll cover it in real time, so that's okay. We'll at least, we could at least, we'll at least know which direction they took you out of your apartment.
I'm just glad we're live streaming. I just hope it helps your subscriber count, Ron. Me getting hauled away to Gitmo, if that pumps your numbers up, I'm all in, buddy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope you wouldn't hate me for it, but I'd have to make a clip of it later, with a lot of with a lot of exclamation points, like Graham Elwood gets hauled away! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! And then it's like the thumbnail will be great. It'll be you like holding a vegan smoothie, going, "What did I do?" And then it's like, there he goes.
Ron, if it's like one of your most watched videos, then I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? Like I get it. You're a content creator, and we all got bills to pay. We all got bills to pay. So if I get arrested in real time on your live stream, by all means, and maybe there's 2 clips. Maybe it was me talking about it. Then the second, I don't know if you can make it a part 2, whatever helps.
You know what I'll do is I'll put part 2 under a paywall. That's what I'll do.
Yeah,
I'll be like to see the real unedited footage of it, and then they click it, and it's like, that's like $10. They're like, shit. Well, I invested this much. I gotta see the payoff now, and then that's
I love it.
Keep a lookout for that.
I think it's a great idea, Ron. I think it's a great idea.
Nailed it. So folks, the update is we might be getting another one-time FU payment. This time like 600, 700, maybe a little more if you got a family, and maybe 300. These are all maybes. Maybe. Stop pretending this is acceptable. Stop pretending. Stop reporting on the horse race of Republican Democrats. Stop pretending this government is any more than it is. It is a corporate coup. It is a shield for Wall Street. That's all it is. We need a complete overhaul. We need a people's legislature. We need a general strike. We need to put these people in a corner. We need to put elected officials in a corner where they have to do something good. That's the only, and it doesn't matter how you feel about anyone. It doesn't, if you're worried about AOC's feelings, stop. If you're worried about anyone else's feelings, stop. It's us versus them. It is us versus them. And if you're carrying water for them, you're fucking wrong. You're just wrong.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, this ridiculous allegiance to whomever, AOC, Bernie, I don't care whoever. Why? And defending the people in power. Oh, Ron, why are you saying this? And at least it's something. At least, why? Don't ever defend the people in power, because the people in power don't give a damn about you. They don't give a damn about you. I mean, and if even the ones you think might, maybe they kind of do, maybe the squad feels like they do, they're still like, what are they voting for? What legislation are they supporting? What that tells you everything. Doesn't care what they say in interviews. It doesn't matter what their Twitter feed says. It doesn't matter what cool video TikToks they make, if they go on Twitch or whatever. That means absolutely nothing. The greatest lesson I ever learned was when I first started really, I always kind of paid attention to politics, but when I really started digging in about 4 years ago, when I started my show, The Political Vigilante, and they were getting ready to confirm Mike Pompeo to be head of the CIA. And Dianne Feinstein, senator from California, and I was like, she's a Democrat. I'll vote. I voted for her, whatever. And her Twitter feed was no torture, Mr. Pompeo. We won't take that. We won't tolerate that. This whole thing about Mike Pompeo was pro-torture, which is true, and she was against it. And Mr. Trump, we won't stand for that. And then I went to cabinetvotes.org, and she voted for Mike Pompeo. So that's all you need to know. And AOC and the squad and all of them, they voted for the CARES Act. It was a verbal vote. They deliberately did it so there's no record. They voted for this. So they are part of the problem, and you need to hold them accountable. And they're not your friend. You're not backstabbing a buddy or shit talking a family member. These are elected officials. As you said, Ro Khanna, you said this on my show yesterday. Ro Khanna said this on the Jimmy Dore show. If you're a member of Congress, you are part of the 1% of the 1%. So if you can't handle criticism from anybody, especially your own base, your own constituents, then this ain't the job for you.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you can't handle progressives calling you out because you're not being progressive enough like you said you were going to be, then pack it up and get out.
Well, and not just that, but like also, you know, they need to, if we want them to do good, they have to look outside and see us.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, their leverage is gone. So this whole idea of like, now's not the time and don't do this. And it's like, no, this is what we have to do. Even if they do have good intentions, if we're not out there, it's for nothing. The New Deal wouldn't have happened if FDR didn't look out and see a bunch of angry people.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the Civil Rights Act wouldn't have happened if there wasn't a big movement forcing it to happen. That's how politics works in this freaking country.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's such a great point. And none of those things that you mentioned. I mean, women getting the right to vote. Do you think that happened just out of the goodness of their heart? No. Women protested. Women went on strike. Women said no. Like you talked about, all of the labor strikes. Why did the Vietnam War end? Because there was protests every day in front of every Capitol building, on campuses, in front of the White House, every day in front of the Capitol building, every day. It was nonstop. You couldn't get away from a conversation about Vietnam. And everybody was like, are you for it, against it? You had to take a stand. You had to stand for it. You had to do this. Muhammad Ali gave up his championship belt because he's like, I ain't going to Vietnam. No Viet Cong ever called me the N-word. He said that. He said, yeah. I'm out. It was every day. It wasn't one little tweet and hey, don't be mean. It was like, that's what it's going to take. And if people don't wake up to that fact, then I'm sorry, man. Now that the restaurants are closed again, you can't have brunch. So maybe it's time to get out and wake up. Because nothing is changing.
So we also have a call to action here before we get off the quote unquote stimulus bill. Everyone should do air quotes whenever they say the stimulus bill, by the way. The stimulus bill, the more we're giving money to the banks and shielding corporations and helping defense contractors. You know, the stimulus. Yeah,
defense contractor stimulus bill.
We gotta look out for them. You know, they're on hard times. But here's the call to action involved with this, because there's all kinds of horrible things in this thing. And one of them is another assault on your digital rights. So check this out. I'm gonna emphasize where you can go to sign this petition, and then we're gonna move on to some other things away from the stimulus. But here, check this out. This is from Fight for the Future. You can find this petition at actionnetwork.org. Tell Congress don't ram through dangerous copyright provisions in a must-pass spending bill. So here's from the website. This is a red alert. Lawmakers are in the pocket of giant corporations like Comcast and Sony, and they're attempting to ram through dangerous changes to copyright law as part of a last-minute must-pass government spending bill. One of the provisions, the Controversial Case Act, could lead to ordinary internet users facing $30,000 in fines for inadvertently sharing copyright content as a part of everyday activities like posting memes, sharing videos, and downloading images. So this is similar to SOPA and PIPA. If you remember that from a couple years back. What this kind of stuff does is it infringes these overreaching copyright protections. Now, of course, artists should have their copyright when it comes to copyrighted material. Of course, that's a good thing. And artists should get compensated for their work if you're a musician or a comedian or a content creator. But what this does is this is a huge overreach, and this could create a scenario where, say, someone like you or I or anyone else, we play video clips on our shows to emphasize a point and to engage in commentary on it, which, by the way, this is all fair use. But what overreaching stuff like this does, we're liable to then get fined, as you saw, up to $30,000 for doing that. So this is a huge assault on online speech. Here's the way they sum up as far as the statement goes. Sign the petition to call Congress. Artists and creators deserve to be fairly compensated for their work. but controversial copyright provisions that impact online free expression and human rights should never be rushed through as part of a must-pass spending bill. Keep these provisions out of the continuing resolution so we can have an honest and transparent debate. And this goes to the bigger theme of people constantly missing the mark when it comes to digital rights. So go to actionnetwork.org, sign this petition, and yeah, there you go. So they're assaulting online speech as well, folks. And that's been a continuing theme this year that started with Trump's horrible executive order, the Section 230. They're going to gut Section 230, which is a terrible idea. We've explained that many times on this show, why it's a terrible idea. They're branding it like it's just holding social media companies accountable. That's not what it actually does. What it does is it holds all user-posted content on the internet liable and susceptible to lawsuits. It will lead to more censorship, not less, because it allows the FCC to be bureaucrats. And it already has led to more censorship because places like Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, they're just suppressing all political speech because they're scared of lawsuits now. So it's like having a bad tree in a forest. So your solution is to burn down the entire forest.
Well,
that's what they're doing.
It's funny, and I don't know if you've had this, but I've definitely started to notice an uptick in getting videos demonetized for just playing a clip.
Yes.
You're like, oh, that's copyrighted material. Wait a minute, I'm just playing a clip that I pulled off of the internet. It's just a news piece or whatever. They're like, oh, that's copyright material. You can't. And so they demonetize it and give you the option of, well, we'll trim out that clip.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wait a minute, man. Like what and again, it's all to discourage you from talking about this stuff. And it's another reason why, you and I both are on Rockfin and we love Rockfin, and it's great because none of this crap happens.
Yeah. And here's the thing too. Everything you're doing, again, that is fair use. When somebody is engaging in commentary on something that's news, right, that is called fair use. But here's the issue. All these algorithms and all these like copyright claims and stuff like that, it's not decided by a person. It's decided by a freaking robot.
Right.
A robot that doesn't have the analytical skills and the kind of like reception to be able to determine this is fair use. So they just punish you anyway. And then even if it does get resolved, if you fight it and then they actually have a human that looks at it and they're like, oh yeah, this is fine. Well, they've already screwed you because you dabble in the world of news and politics. So if something has been out of the news cycle for so long, and I know you've probably gotten this too, I've had clips monetized, and then randomly they'll review it and they'll be like, oh yeah, this is totally fine. And they'll monetize it. And it's a clip from 4 weeks ago. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm sure this clip from something that happened in the news a month ago is going to get a ton of views now. Thanks for doing that. I'm sure it hasn't already, had its life cycle pretty much.
It's deliberate. They wait till 80%, 90% of the views happen, and then they put the thing back on so you can make money from it. And it's just to like, it's such a shot across the bow of like, all right, you want to put that stuff up there? Good luck making money on it, and it's like they've even trimmed back the super chat money now. They take the percentage out on our end that YouTube gets. And I've had numerous people, I'm sure you've had this, people too, are in the chats going, I can't do a super chat. YouTube won't let me.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's so frustrating. But it's also good because it's forcing all of us to get in these other platforms of, like Rockfin, I'm really happy with. I know you're on Odyssey. I'm looking to put my stuff on Odyssey as well. So it's kind of like, it's, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. So it's forcing these other things to come up that could very well, remember MySpace was king and then now it's not. Right.
Which, by the way, we really ruined something good there. Well, it wasn't our fault. We didn't sell it, but man, we should have fought. MySpace was the best, man. MySpace was the best. Sign that petition, actionnetwork.org. So
bring back MySpace. Bring back AOL.
That'll be the next petition. Sign this one for now so that they don't have a blatant assault on free speech online. But after that, we're going to bring back AOL, MySpace. Priorities, folks. So I want to talk about this, man, and this was like one of the things I had in the title today. This was dropped by The Intercept. Let's see. Let me close out of this. AOC, Nancy Pelosi needs to go, but there's nobody to replace her yet. So this happened on Jeremy Scahill's podcast. AOC believes the Democratic Party needs new leadership, telling The Intercept in an interview that it's time for Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to go. But the left, she said, currently has no plan on how to fill the subsequent leadership vacuum. If you create that vacuum, she says, there are so many nefarious forces at play to fill that vacuum with something even worse. Pelosi, Cruz, blah, 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 blah. So here's my thoughts right now. And I want you to tell me if you think I'm being too optimistic, and maybe I am. I think she's listening to all of the flack she's gotten online recently because of Jimmy Dore's vote idea. And I think it might be starting to, I think the seed might be starting to grow a little bit. And I think that this might be, she's acknowledging that Nancy Pelosi needs to go. That's a tune she wasn't really singing before. She's kind of played with that before. She showed up at Nancy Pelosi's office with the Sunrise Movement. That was great. But since then, you've heard Mama Bear, Mama Bear, Mama Bear. Now she's finally changing her tune a little bit. So maybe there are going to be some demands come January. I don't know. Am I being too optimistic? And maybe I am.
You might be too optimistic on actions being taken.
Okay.
But I'd love to be wrong. I'd love for you to be right. But in terms of, is AOC listening? She absolutely is. Like, this is I mean, one of her strengths is how sophisticated she is on social media, right? And which is why it's so disappointing when she goes from, you know, a year and a half ago or whatever, calling out the, you know, in her freshman orientation that there was no labor, there was only lobby speaking to the group. When she went on Twitter to call out Nancy Pelosi, she literally said, why are we voting for Trump's border wall? We have a majority of Congress. What's the point of having a majority if we're going to just go along with Trump? And she took a ton of shit for that. So she's sophisticated. She knows how to use it, which is why it's so disappointing that she's now running this Mama Bear thing. So if you think she hasn't heard of that, well, first of all, she has, because she's tweeted about it.
Right.
You know,
totally.
And she's like, oh, there's no step 2. But when you start seeing, and what Jimmy did and is doing is so sophisticated. When you see that video that the Rising put out, the crystal ball weighing what Jimmy says and what AOC says, and she's like basically sides with Jimmy and all the other people, there's no way. Because here's the thing. You can sit there and say, oh, you know, Jimmy's just some angry comedian, you know, in his garage. But when, and look, the Hill is look, it's owned by the Koch brothers. It's corporate media. The Rising, they do some good work on there. They're corporate media. They're the most progressive of a corporate media outlet. You know, let's be honest who they are. You know, like I have respect for what they do, but there's a lot of times they're on the wrong side of Julian Assange. Like they've definitely said some things that are a little more neoliberal, but they say they push the left progressive thing more than anybody that's in corporate media that I've seen. So,
and they have conversations in a way that's outside of the, kind of the corporate media bubble, because like Crystal is kind of, more anti-establishment left, whereas the Seagar, right? He's more anti-establishment right. I don't watch their show all the time, so I can't speak to like every segment, but what I have seen, that's the vibe I get from that show. And those are the conversations you're not going to hear on any cable network.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's the thing that is really good about that show. They're not asking questions based on, the big corporation that buys ad time, in their ear. Like literally the producers, so they are asking legitimate questions from their perspective of, and that's what makes them watchable. And when they get something wrong, it's more like maybe I don't agree with them rather than
they're deliberately pushing bullshit. They might be pushing. I mean, the Assange thing was they said that 2 years ago. I don't know if they've flip-flopped, if they've changed their stance on that. But the thing they said about Assange, I think it was 2 years ago, was like State Department talking points. I mean, it was just like, oh, he's in the Ecuadorian embassy and is, you know, he's a dirty person, whatever. It was just like, it was just flat out nonsense. So I don't know if they're just repeating mainstream stuff because they didn't know any better. But anyway, they're considered the most progressive of the corporate media, that show.
Okay.
It would be in my opinion, what seems like in wide circles are. So if they're saying, AOC, you dropped the ball, you're on the wrong side of this. And Crystal Ball said AOC is actually disagreeing with her own stance on we got to push Medicare for all no matter what.
Matt Orfala edited together a video.
Beautiful video.
Yeah.
So there's no way she's not seeing this. There's no way she's not seeing an NFL player. I mean, she responded to Steven Jackson, that NFL player that was on Jimmy Dore's show, who was like, man, we got to hold them accountable. And she's absolutely aware of this. And so she's realizing, and her voicemail was full. My voice is on her voicemail.
Yeah.
So she got when she heard her base come at her with, you better do something about this. She's going to be like, oh man, you know, and she hasn't been in the party long enough to be so arrogant to take where are you going to go? Like, what are you going to do? Like the way Dianne Feinstein talked to those Girl Scouts a year ago who wanted to save the environment. So I think she's hearing it. And the real question for me is, she's hearing it. That's what that's saying. And does she have the courage to just say, bye, Nancy, we're changing the party? Or is she going to keep drinking this Kool-Aid of incremental centrism, thinking that's going to achieve anything other than keeping the status quo?
Yeah. Well, here, I want to go to this part in the article too. I want to read something else here. Here, hold up. Here we go. If progressives do threaten to withhold their report from Pelosi, Ocasio-Cortez said, their demand shouldn't be merely for a floor vote on Medicare for all, which is sure to fail. These are Ocasio-Cortez's words. Instead, she believes progressives should fight for the bigger structural obstacles in the way of Medicare for all, like pay-go, an austerity provision that makes it difficult, blah, 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 or replacing conservative Democratic Rep. Richie Neal as head of the Ways and Means Committee. We are currently negotiating to get and work towards real material concessions for the left that can move things into place to help build power for the next 2 years, she said. So here's my question. And maybe I just don't know enough. Is there some kind of law that exists that says you can only ask for one thing? Is that a law? Like is that, do I not know about this law? Like, is that a thing? Do you know if that's a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing called the lie of incremental centrism. I mean, that's where that quote is why I don't have faith that she's going to actually do something about this, because she doesn't have the guts to go, well, we should ask for more things, so I'm going to demand that. And keep here. And here's the other thing too. What strong movements like the Yellow Vest movement did, they go out and protest for this one thing, and then they get it. And then they protest the next weekend for another thing. Like, you keep going, because here's the thing that maybe she doesn't get it, or I don't understand this, but like, she was at the Bernie Sanders rallies. I covered several of them in Southern California where she spoke. She knows how popular she knows that those, and this is the thing Crystal Ball brought up, is like, why are you waiting to mobilize these tens of millions of people that are ready to get on a cause? So if you step forward, AOC, and said, I'm holding the vote until we get Medicare for all, you would have all these people. Yeah. And then, okay, you withhold the vote. And then when Pelosi tries to go, okay, well, I'm going to do this and this, you go, no, we want all of this. And we want to get, and in order to get, you want pay-go. Okay, we'll get rid of pay-go and get a new person on Ways and Means. Okay. That's how.
And a floor vote. Yes,
and
you
a
asked
floor
for
vote.
it all.
How you push for things. You don't go, well, let's wait till we have this and that and this and that. And you just go. You say, I want this and we want that. And you just push, man. This is like, we didn't go to the streets. Well, you shouldn't protest George Floyd. Wait, you should actually be don't say defund the police. You should actually first, have a committee meeting on how to restructure financing and the police. No, fuck you. We went to the streets. We started pulling down Christopher Columbus statues. That's what's going down. So that's how it works. So you want to talk like a career politician that's like, oh, we need this ways and means. No, we need bold action. That's what we need. It's like, according to AOC, Rosa Parks just sitting and not leaving the front of the bus was like, she should have waited and she should have actually, wrote a memo to the bus lines of that, and that town. And then really, no, Rosa Parks said, not leaving. And that's what you need to do, AOC, if you want to be a real leader. And you're going to get voted out if you don't.
I just really, I mean, I don't know. I hope that the fact that you're saying she needs to go, the next pivot should be, you know what, to get our vote, here's some demands. And I said, demand it all. Like why are you cherry picking? Like, what? Demand it all. And this article goes on. We all know that it is incredibly fragile. Nancy Pelosi's shot of potentially losing the speakership, it is incredibly fragile right now. She can't afford to lose anything. So demand it all. Demand it all. Pago, gone. Floor vote, happening. And people are downplaying this. It's a performative act. No, it is much more than that. You could call it a performative act. Maybe let's say that like only people on YouTube knew what Medicare for All even was. Then maybe you can make the argument at this point in time it's a quote performative act. But no, 70% of the freaking country wants this. Even according to Fox News poll, Fox News viewers want Medicare for All. People are finally waking up. They're finally seeing through the bullshit propaganda around universal healthcare that has been shoved down people's throats for decades. That's the only reason we don't have it and every other industrialized country in the world does. We're finally seeing through that bullshit. We're finally realizing that medical bankruptcies are unique to us and no other industrialized nation in the world. We're waking up to that. So it's so much more than just a performative act. You're forcing people during a pandemic to go against healthcare, and that will be on their permanent freaking record. And you are going to give a movement a shot in the arm that it needs.
A movement needs a shot in the arm. Even if they got just got completely neutered when Bernie endorsed Joe Biden in the spring, right?
Yeah.
So here's the other thing that just drives me insane about fucking dummy liberal lefties, whatever. It's like, well, first you need this, first you need that. Oh, is that why every single bill has bullshit packed into it to feed that lobby group and that lobby group and that lobby group? So why don't you, AOC, pack some shit to feed your base? Oh, by the way, I met in this Medicare for All floor vote, it's going to get rid of PAYGO. It's going to get this guy off the Ways and Means Committee, and this is what's going to happen. Oh, wow, you're attaching a bunch of pork belly. No, I'm attaching a bunch of populism to it. Yeah. That's what you do. You are in a street fight with people, and you're sitting there trying to play, well, we need to have nice white gloves when we play patty cake. No, you need to kick them in the fucking nuts. What are you talking about? It's like you're getting attacked by a mugger, and you're like, hey, wait a minute. I took a karate class. Can you attack me this one way so I can use this one punch? No. 30,000 people die every day, every year in America. Like, I want to ask AOC, are you having these conversations with Amy Vilela, who you know whose daughter died because she didn't have health insurance? Is that what you're saying here? Well, Amy, it's too performative. And you're saying that to the millions of family members who had other friends and family die because they didn't have health insurance? It's too performative, and the Ways and Means guy, and the meow. Do something.
It's like you're in a street fight, but you can only throw one punch every 2.5 minutes.
Right.
Like you're just like, all right, this is just like, that's all right. Anything else? I don't know. A knee would be weird. I don't want to do that. Now's not the time. Meanwhile, you just keep getting the shit kicked out of you. And the you in this metaphor is all the American people. That's the you in this metaphor. Yes. It's all of us. They're letting us get the shit beat out of us. And they're saying they might throw one punch, but they can only throw one, maybe. And they're not even guaranteeing that. Whereas we're asking for an actual street fight. That's what
we're asking for a street fight. And they're like, well, we want to have a focus group first to see what type of punch to throw while you're being attacked. Okay, great. Let me know how that shakes out. Like, it's like, and all of us we're all us mobilized people. We're like, it's like there's like millions of people in this street fight metaphor. We've all been training, man. We've been in a goddamn MMA gym for a while. We're ready to go. Like, bring it. Let's do this. And you're like, meow, 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 meow. Like, and she's going to take crap from the corporate establishment for this quote about maybe it's time for Pelosi to go. And she'll back down more. You know, like when Whoopi Goldberg tells her to stay in her lane.
That's my fear.
Yeah, it's completely justified because there's no evidence of her really coming up swinging against the corporate establishment. The Democratic, there's no evidence of it. She had a couple of tweets early on. That's it. And that's it. That's all these progressives in this corrupt party can do is tweet.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like she'll say some things, but then I'm assuming she gets some slaps on the wrist real quick, and then she responds to them, not to us.
Exactly.
When she was like, me and Joe Biden wouldn't even be in the same political party in any other country. Nice slap on the wrist. She had to walk away from that real. She had to walk away. I mean, even at the point where she was like, I'm thinking about getting out of electoral politics. That was bigger than people realize, because that just goes to show when you really want to do some positive things for people, that's how you feel after a couple years. You're ready to just get out of the game entirely, because the game's not meant for we the people. The game's meant for Wall Street. And I'd imagine you learn that really freaking quick.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, you're so right. When she says these bold statements and the corporate Democrats come down on her, she doesn't go, fuck you. I'm answering to my base. They put me in office, not you, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. You didn't get me elected. You worked to get me. You passed laws so somebody like me never comes along again. You wanted Joe Crowley, because Joe Crowley, nobody knows who he was. He wouldn't make noise. He'd vote for everything you wanted him to make. She's not. I don't get it. You like get to the top of the mountain and then say I'm sorry and walk back down to the middle of the mountain and say someone else should go up there and plant a flag.
Jeez.
The fuck, man. Like, if I was in her position, I would be setting DC on goddamn fire, and my base would be so fired up. I would have a army. I would have a army, and I'd be like, and I'd get behind closed doors and I'd say, all right, here's what I want. If I don't get it, I'm going to live stream in this hallway right now. And I will have 20,000 people surrounding this building in 30 minutes is what I would say. And they'd be like, okay, great. Can we just add, no. I want Medicare for all, and I want it now.
Yeah.
Like, and they'd call my bluff, and I'd say, okay. And then here I am standing outside of Nancy Pelosi's home. Everybody come join me. If I had 5 million fucking Twitter followers, which I would if I made it to Congress the way AOC did, I'd be like, my 5 million peeps, they're coming with me everywhere I go. You want a taste?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you got the people behind you. You don't have the beltway behind you, but you got the people.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have the beltway behind you. You got into office because we didn't want you to have you said you didn't want the beltway behind you.
Yeah. When you hear Hillary Clinton talking about how nobody likes Bernie Sanders, why do you think that was? Because he was advocating for the things none of them wanted to do.
Right.
That's why. That's why nobody liked him.
Nobody in the beltway liked Bernie.
Nobody in the beltway liked him.
None of the people corresponding in the Podesta emails liked Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't get AOC's half. Why did you get in this if you're going to half fight? Like, what did you think this was going to be? Girl Scouts, and they were just going to give you a medal and pat you on the head, and everyone's going to tell you you're great? What did you think who did you think you were getting into a fight with? Like, it's a street fight, motherfucker. Come up swinging. Like, what are you doing? Punch. Like, don't write a poem. Take them out. Like, come on. I don't know what it's going to, like, you win. You won. You've got all this power. I I don't know how many more examples I can make.
No, I hear you, man. I mean, it's just, if you're going to say someone's not fit for the gig, then you kind of got to make some demands then. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, you're acknowledging she's not fit for the gig. You just said it. Make some freaking demands for your vote. Because otherwise you're saying it's fine, she's not fit. And I get it. She's also saying, well, we got nowhere else to go right now. Yeah, but make some demands. Make some freaking demands in exchange for your vote. She can't lose your vote. She can't. So make some demands. And if they don't, you know, which we'll see come January, if they don't, it just means that, well, they did know better. They know better. They know what's going on. They're listening. They're hearing what we're saying to demand a floor vote. They know what it would do, but they're just choosing not to. And there is no reason why, oh, we're going to say get rid of pay. We're not going to force a floor vote. Demand it all. Demand it all. We live in a country that has conceded absolutely nothing to lefties for as long as both of us have been human fucking beings.
Yes.
It's time to demand more than one thing.
When has anyone ever made, when has the fucking ruling class ever made a concession for us? We always have to make one.
Yeah.
We're having to make one in this bullshit stimulus plan. We'd like $600 a week on top of it. We'd like a $1,200 check. Maybe half of that.
Maybe half. $900 billion. We might give you half. We've given you about $4 a day. And by the way, you didn't give it to us. It was an agreement. It was an agreement. First of all, you know, MMT, you know, they just create currency out of thin air anyway. Mm-hmm. But what's important here, though, still is that, you know, we pay taxes as part of an agreement, and they're not upholding the agreement. They're stealing from you every freaking day.
Yeah.
So I want to go here last, man, to end on a kind of sort of fun place. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess fun's the right way to put it. So you and I used to tour around the country during a simpler time. Actually, the world even. We've been to Australia. And when we were in Iowa City, we happened to be there the same time as Bernie. And we dropped a couple videos there. We dropped some videos from the rally itself. And this was back when he was running and we all had a little bit of hope. And also, I dropped a video because I noticed that Iowa was working on some city internet, and they had some municipal broadband happening, and I did a video on it. Iowa's one of the places that's working on municipal broadband. You guys know that's a big part of the mission of this show. I covered what happened at a neighborhood council meeting yesterday on the show extensively. So here's a fun thing. Some of you might remember that Muni broadband video that we did in relation to Iowa. When you really try to bring city-owned internet to your city, this is what you go up against. And shout out to George, Podcast by George, for sharing this with me. Mediacom Communications files lawsuit against West Des Moines, requesting stop of conduit network with Google Fiber. Now, West Des Moines is not where Graham and I were at, but municipal broadband, usually when someone gets it, other people want to get it too, because they see how good it is. So it's spreading in different parts of Iowa now, but this is what you're up against. A new lawsuit filed against the city of West Des Moines by Mediacom Communication claims the city is improperly financing a nearly $50 million citywide conduit network, offering a significant competitive edge to Google Fiber. What does that mean? That means that Google doesn't like the fact that they're building a city-owned network, because that city-owned network is probably going to offer better internet at a better price to consumers. So they want to lobby lawmakers to do what they want and stop this city-owned network from happening. And that's one of the things that we're always going to be up against, folks. Big cable is not going to take this line down. They're just not. But here's another follow-up on that. So we'll watch this unfold. I mean, right now, all we know is that the lawsuit's happening and Google. But basically, if you're in West Des Moines, Iowa, the people are going up against Google for your broadband infrastructure. You can beat them, folks. The town of Charlemont, Massachusetts sent Comcast packing. They're a town of 7,000 people. They sent Comcast packing. You can go up against big cable, which is what Joe Strummer trained you for, and you can frickin' win. Not literally what Joe Strummer trained you for. I don't think he wasn't singing about municipal broadband in the 80s. It wasn't really a thing yet. But You know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know if he was thinking about a thing that hadn't been invented yet, but I mean, yeah, the sentiment was there.
Exactly. Graham, where can everybody find you if they don't already know where to find you?
Well, you can go to my show, Political Vigilante, youtube.com/Graham Elwood. I will be going live later tonight. Usually on Wednesdays, I'll probably go after Jimmy Dore around 6:30, 7 o'clock Pacific time, whenever Jimmy ends. And I go live usually 4 or 5 days a week. I also have a cool podcast with Lee Camp called Government Secrets, which you can download on iTunes. We're about 20 episodes in, Spotify, all those places. And follow me at Graham Elwood. And of course, I've got a patreon.com/Graham Elwood, rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform where for $10 a month, you get access to all my bonus content, your bonus content, Convo Couch, Nico House, Richard Medhurst, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Jimmy Dore. Lee Camp is going to be posting on there soon. Dave Anthony from The Dollop is going to be posting on there. So it's the future. They don't censor us, and they pay us in cryptocurrency, which, by the way, Bitcoin broke its all-time high today. It's now over $20,000 a coin. And so pay attention to crypto.
Graham Elwood, pay attention to crypto.com. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for being here.
You got it, brother.
All right, man. Be well.
Later.
All right. That was Graham Elwood. Let me go to the chat to see what y'all are saying. J.H. Scott 6. Thank you for the pear. You guys know I love pears so much. I think pear season's coming up soon, if I'm not mistaken. Usually, at least here in Southern California, winter, solid time for pears. So I'm going to be getting some pears from my local farmers. It's going to be pretty badass. I'm stoked for it. So thank you for that pear, J.H. Scott. Mitch Osborne, Assange formally filed a request with the White House for a pardon this morning. Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Mitch, first of all. We'll be covering that on this show next week for sure. And I mean, you guys know where I'm at. I'm not counting on it. I'd be surprised if Trump would pardon Assange, but I'm certainly cheering for it. And I would do everything in my power to try to make that happen. God, somebody near Trump, just tell him how much it would piss off the Clintons. Tell him how much it would piss off MSNBC. It would even piss off Fox News. Trump's mad at Fox News now, right? Isn't he mad at them now? Like they're not buddies anymore or whatever. Come on, Trump. Don't you want to own all those libs on your way out? Just do it. I don't care what his motivation is. Just freaking do it. Free Julian Assange, please. Here's hoping. Thank you for letting me know about that, Mitch. I appreciate that very much. Oscar, thank you for the pear. You guys get the vibe. I like the pears. I appreciate that. You know I like the pears. Thank you. Thank you for showing me the pear love. Sam Dean, what's up, buddy? I hope everything is safe in Australia. I hope you guys fix climate change for the rest of us. Please do that. Trump, despite reports to the contrary, Sweden is paying heavily for its decision not to lock down. U.S. made the correct decision. Sweden, ? Volvo gave away a 1962 patent for a 3-point seatbelt for free in order to save lives. All right. Well, I think Sweden, they actually rolled back that, and they did lock down. We had Victor Brodin on this show. He's a Swedish musician who's a friend of mine, and he was talking about what it was like over in Sweden when he was over there. And I think they have since changed, and they did lock down. And they also did more than I think people are acknowledging. Like they kind of, like people were voluntarily staying home and stuff like that. It just wasn't as cemented as other places. But anyway, I'm not sure what that quote refers to from Trump directly. I hadn't heard it until now, but thank you for that. I appreciate that, Sam Dean. Thank you, J.H. Scott. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Sam. You all keep this show on the air. And folks, if you are so interested and able, patreon.com/Ron Placone. For a Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content, including my album that you can download in its entirety. And I'm making theme songs for folks. I make theme songs. If you want your own theme song, I'll make you one. How much does that cost? It's a Give What You Can level. And it makes an amazing holiday gift, by the way. So patreon.com/Ron Placone. check it out if you are so able. I know times are tough. If you're not on stable ground, do not worry about it. There's all kinds of ways you can support this show for free. You can like these videos, share them. Make sure you're subscribed. They unsubscribe people every day, so just make sure you're subscribed. And when clips are monetized, which, by the way, we don't have any control whether stuff gets monetized or not anymore, by the way. Just, it's great. So sometimes my streams are monetized, sometimes they're not. I have no control if they are one way or another. But when clips are monetized, watch the ads in a separate browser, have it on silent, and just play them all the way through. That helps out all the content creators you know and love. Don't just do that for me. Do that for everyone. Do that for Graham. Do that for Jimmy. Do that for everyone. It helps keep our shows on the air. Kate, what's up, Kate? I hope you are doing awesome. I have been on a Richard Hell kick because of you. Thank you for that super chat contribution. So once again, thank you, J.H. Scott. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Sam. And thank you, Kate, for your super chat contributions. You keep this show on the air. Folks, I'll be back for a full stream on Monday. And next week is actually the last week of the year for Get Your News On with Ron. You guys know at the end of the year, I take a break and then come back later in January. So that's happening. Next week is the last week for live stream Get Your News On with Ron. I'll be dropping some little short videos and stuff like that in the interim. But next week is the last full stream week. We'll be going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then we'll be taking a little bit of a break for the end of the year. So I'll be announcing more concrete details on that, like when we'll be picking back up and stuff like that next week. But in the meantime, I will see you on Monday. And you know the drill between now and then. Lucy, she's asleep on the couch. But Lucy, she says meow. And I say peace. Peace.